Mr. Mercedes, which is dark and creepy, and it's got that Stephen King stuff going on, but it's not really horror, but it's really horrifying, and I think people are really going to dig it. So first I want to introduce you to the shows of the AT&T Audience Network. This is a channel that has been really expanding the limitations, or the boundaries, I guess, of what dramatic television can be, and they're now entering into some comedy as well. So let's run that clip, and then we'll get to the Mr. Mercedes. It's so good, and it's wrapping up its final season, and you're going to be blown away. You're also going to be blown away in a totally different way by Mr. Mercedes. This is a show that starts out with literally the grisliest thing I've ever seen on television. Yeah. And it only gets darker and grimmer from there, and I love it. So, you know, probably many of you have read the book, so you know what I'm talking about. It is not okay. But let's run a clip from that, and then right after the sizzle reel, you're going to see an exclusive clip from the show that no one else has seen. Buckle up.
Here did all my book reports, but that's a whole other story. But going back to reading this book, it was the first time I had read a Stephen King novel that dealt with the detective, in the detective genre. And what thrilled me the most about it is that it really dealt with the monster and the horror inside all of us, as opposed to the monster and the horror around us, which was usually what Stephen King would write about brilliantly. And so I called him and I said, I want to do it, it's great. And I said, there's an actor named Brendan Gleeson, and he's born to play Hodges. And as fate would have it, Brendan's not here with us today, but he is our Hodges, and he's brilliant, and along with the rest of this cast.
All right, so this, yeah, you got it. We'll get to that. Okay, the fact that you have the ice cream people on the sides is very unsafe. Just realized that, and that's wrong. Your relationship with King over the time, has he been participating in adapting this and working with you guys?
Well, I brought another genius named David Kelley into the project, who adapted it, along with our other writers, exceptional group of writers, Dennis Lehane, Sophie Owen-Bender, Brian Gobloff, and they did an amazing job with David running it of adapting the material. But what was your question?
Has he had any input?
Oh yes, thank you. Stephen, when he gives a project to television or the movies, he has the right to put his name on it and be involved beyond just based on the novel by Stephen King. And when I sent him the pilot, the first episode, he called me back and said, I love this and I want to be a part of it. So he has been very involved. I kept him involved early on in terms of casting. He's very unintrusive, but he is totally supportive. He loved all the casting choices, and now he is a very proud executive producer of our show, and tweets about it, and just thinks it's great.
Correct? A lot of you, and those of us, you know, anyone who's read a book that has been adapted into a series or movie, we know the characters we see in our head. When you take these characters and you had to go cast them, what were you looking for?
I see this show first and foremost as a character drama. Once again, when I said it's the monster inside of us, that means it's all about the characters, and it's all about the monstrous, beautiful complexity that's a part of all these extraordinary actors who play these roles. There's also humor in it, because Stephen King, as you know, writes with that corkscrew, twisted sense of humor. And David Kelley does that brilliantly also. So I knew I needed actors that fit the characters, and I knew I needed actors that could surprise me and then hopefully surprise you. And I know a lot of director, exec producers sit up here and say they couldn't have a better cast, but I really do mean it. They are all exceptional. exceptional in these roles. And just one other thing, if any of you or some of you have liked anything I've done in the past, watch this show, and you too will be amazed at the work and who these characters are.
Definitely, I agree. I've seen almost half the series, and you guys, it feels like you have lived in these characters. It feels like the house is a house that you live in with Harry. So I want you guys to go down the line and just explain your characters and their connections to the whole story, but don't give up too much.
Well, I played Deborah Hartsfield, Brady Hartsfield's mom. Deborah was probably that girl in high school, that blonde cheerleader who, you know, you kind of love her, but you sort of hate her because everything looks perfect and her life is so sweet and regular, and she marries her high school sweetheart, has a couple of kids, and ends up having the worst luck in the world, one thing after another, and being the mother of a mass murderer. You know? So she's no longer that cheerleader girl. She can find her in a really weird, agoraphobic, alcoholic state, and yet hopefully you'll care about her.
We have a Mother's Day special episode.
Jharrel?
Yeah, I play a character named Jerome Robinson. Yeah, Jharrel Jerome playing Jerome Robinson. It's pretty ironic. And he's more so, he's probably one of the most sane characters in the show. He's sort of naive to everything that's going on around him, but he's also very smart. He's also very wise. He's going to Harvard. It's the summer before his first year at Harvard. And he's pretty much, his job is, he's the next door neighbor of Bill Hodges, who plays the lead, and so he's the one that Hodges kind of takes under his wing to help him with the IT situations that he needs throughout the season. So I'm sort of the smart kid who's always at his side, kind of like, nope, that's not it, this is it. And you know, it's this cool dynamic I get to play with Brendan that I hope you guys, you know, really appreciate when you see how a much older man can still bond with a young, you know, black teenager. So yeah.
But this is nothing like his film Moonlight.
No.
No, it's still different. I'll tell you, if you did see Moonlight, you should definitely see Mr. Mercedes.
Hi, I play Ida Silver. Ida Silver is a character who was not in the novel. And interestingly enough, David Kelley, who was the executive producer of this, along with Jack, felt that when the show transferred from the page to the screen, you have a very different visceral reality than one that you imagine sort of as you wish to. And I think they all felt that our hero, Bill Hodges, this retired detective who's come to like a brick wall at the end of his interesting life, needed to have one person who the audience could rely on as being a sensible, real person with appropriate feelings for things, and who cares about him. And he more or less rebuffs her interest. He thinks she just wants to get him in the sack, which, you know, she does. But in the long run, you see over the whole series, you see that he grows in his awareness that she cares about him, and it's like all he has. But he has Jerome too. Jerome does care about him. But this is someone who's an adult, who's older than him, and who cares about him, and looks out there. And also, as neighbors, it's fun. Our sets are two actual houses. There's two houses right next to each other. There's Ida's house and Bill's house. And Bill's house is the most incredible set for a movie set I've ever been on, in that they bought or leased a house, and it is a set. But we hang out in it. We're in the room where they're not shooting. And you look at all these props and all these things, these old things that this old guy has, it's all set. And it's brilliant. You really enter a world, Bill Hodges' world. This is an extraordinary show because it's all that reality, the detail, and the details of character are so engrossing, and so you will be gripped from the first episode, I assure you. That's all. Can I please have a booster seat? I tried to sit on my foot, and then I got to sit on the wall.
electronics together. And it's a very green and fluorescent light kind of place. We have like maybe slightly above minimum wage. And basically every time we go to work, our boss, Roby, played by Robert Stanton, basically tells us we're nothing. We're a pile of wasted youth, wasted everything. And, but yet we show up to work every day, and it's sort of, I like to think that I'm Brady Hartsfield's best friend. I'm totally his best friend. I like to think that I'm Brady Hartsfield's. But, you know, I think that there's, where I feel like my role in this story, I learned a lot about a sort of portrait of living in a town that is seen its heyday already. You know, a town that's sort of suffering in an economic depressed place, and you know, we had dreams and hopes for our lives, and yet we're thankful we have a job. But every time we go to our work, we're marginalized and told that we're nothing. And so I think through this series, you sort of see two people, one with one background and what they do with that, and then me, Lou. You know, I may or may not make those same choices.
It also takes place in 2011.
Yeah,
Right? Yeah.
pretty sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's your show.
Yeah, right? Good. I never know what year it is.
How many people here have read Mr. Mercedes? Cool. All right, so if we get any details wrong, you can just shout them out at us.
My name's Harry, I play Brady Hartsfield, the ice cream man. He's a young man who's sort of exceptionally disturbed, possibly unwell, but sort of high functioning in his unwellness. He's very creative and intelligent about finding ways of inflicting incredible violence and pain on humanity, which he has no love for. He's sort of what you call a psychopath, and he has no empathy for anyone. So that's his life, and that's the character which Brendan Gleeson's character, Detective Hodges, is not sleeping at night because he didn't solve the crime, which happened 2 or 3 years before the start of this, perpetrated by Brady Hartsfield. That's it.
Right.
It's
Okay.
two different worlds,
So
really.
it really is. I was going to say, listening to you, I realized that we don't see you and Brendan share screen time very much at all in the beginning of the story.
Not at the beginning, but at some point.
Well, the characters are demarcated by who they associate with.
Right.
And who are Bill's people,
Yeah.
who are Brady's people.
Team Brady. Yeah, can we have a show of hands? Who's Team Brady?
No. Yeah, one guy. Okay, it's an ice cream guy.
I know this guy.
So for all of you, how freeing and refreshing is it for you as actors and a producer and writer and director on it, to be able to take a story that is enclosed and be given so much time to tell it? Because a lot of times those adaptations are a 2-hour movie, or it's a loose adaptation.
Well, when I got the book, I was thinking about it as a movie, and then realized that there was just too much story and too much gold to try to pack into those 2 hours, or whatever it would be. And I think that in the new paradigm of great television, even though there's always been occasional great television, but now because of the amount of shows that are made, the 10 episode, 8 to 12 episode is like you can take a book and you can spend time with the characters and really get into the depth of the story you're telling. And I think that's one of the reasons why great filmmakers and great actors and great writers from everywhere and every genre are now doing what we call television, which is just great storytelling. It's the same as movies, and you see it differently. But And so I think that that's one of the reasons that you really can explore. And in fact, I said to David Kelley early on, I want this to be the kind of show where our lead character or one of our characters is holding up a spoon and staring at it for much too long. And David said, really? I said, yeah. And he said, why a spoon? I said, I don't know why. It's just an image I have in my head. And you're watching as an audience going, wow. He's looking at a spoon and it's taking a long time. What's he see? And David wrote it into this scene in the pilot. It's brilliant. And I won't spoil it for you, but the fact it has nothing to do with drugs, right? But you're allowed that kind of time. And one thing I want to say about the Audience Network and DirecTV and Sonar, it's a luxury to be working with companies that give you the room to tell a story the way you want to tell it, and also tell you what they think, and yet are extremely flexible and allow the creative people to really put a vision out there that all of us up here are very proud of. So that's part of what's great about the new landscape of telling stories.
Yeah. And part of that new landscape is also being able to acquire a cast like this.
Yeah.
And because you guys, I mean, it's great. You don't have to sign on for the 3 seasons, and then so for you guys, these characters, that also allows you the ability to really stretch into these places that these characters come from. Let's talk about how comfortable is it to spend so much time playing some of these people? Because honestly, Kelley.
Oh, gee, why'd you say Kelley?
Well, I got a little too comfortable, actually. You know, to play someone who's watching a lot of reality TV with a tumbler of vodka and a cigarette going, and, you know, a son who's your boyfriend, maybe your son, maybe your roommate, maybe your, you know, it was a very weird world to step into, but part of it, we touched on the production design. I walked into, it was almost like when I did Drugstore Cowboy, when I walked into a world that was so deep and the minutia had been thought of, the nicotine stains on the ceiling, that I knew exactly who I was. You know, I knew exactly who I was, and then working with Harry was one of the, you know, I just loved every second of it. Working with him. Loved
Our
it.
costume designer.
Yeah, Hannah Bender.
Hannah Bender,
Yeah,
yeah.
how do you, you know, a woman who doesn't leave the home. This whole
Find,
world,
yeah,
this
the right
whole
clothes.
world is this person who goes out and, you know, takes care of her, but she still has a world that is very, you know, alive, and she changes her clothes, and she has a situation every day, which is always in her house. It's weird, you know, but you fall into all those things, you know, helped inform me as an actor so much, having that level of creative talent around me. It was Harry, who I've been working with Harry in this, and just the design was brilliant, and then Jack's guidance was with everything. You know, we come with the cake, but Jack really put the frosting on everything for us.
And Harry, I get the impression when I was watching, I feel like Brady always has a headache.
Like he's got migraines.
Like he's always, yeah, like he's always in some kind of pain. And this couldn't have been an easy character to just shed when they call him cut.
He's in pain when, yeah, he is in pain a lot. He gets migraines. And the most soothing thing that Brady can do is imagine creating violence. That calms him down, that gets him to sleep. It sounds dark, doesn't it? You're like, yeah. So the thing is, he is the sort of devil incarnate, but he's also the local ice cream truck driver, and the kids love him. And he works in the local electric shop, and he's really mundane and normal. And that's what Stephen King's an incredible writer and an incredible crafter of a psychopath. And so kind of looking and researching into all of that psychology was fascinating, and seeing, you know, okay, so how many people are in this room right now? 400? There's 2 psychopaths in here, there's 400. One in 200 people are a psychopath, which is scary, I think. And some of them, 2 of them are up here. But, you know, some of them end up as what psychologists talk about, snakes in suits. So, whereby someone's upbringing, someone's ingredients of their background can lead them one way and another person can be led another way. So there's CEOs of companies who have no empathy, and they're there because they have been able to be so devoid of human emotion that they're able to get to the top level, not necessarily in the nicest means possible. I'm not saying all CEOs are psychopaths, by the way, in case you're wondering. But Brady's upbringing was a very warped sort of affair, with no love and a strange, twisted kind of love, I think. And you know, with no empathy. At a young age, Brady and his mother killed him. Oh no! Whoa! A fly on a window. They blew it up.
We know who the psychopath is in the room.
Let me just start again.
Yeah,
So
no,
when you're younger, you know, there's this sort of there's a mouldy bond of darkness which bonds them from a sort of young from a young age of Brady, and he was brought up learning how to have no empathy as well as literally not having any himself. So it was the most fascinating character I've ever had the privilege of playing, without a doubt, and a gripping book. I recommend anyone who didn't read it to get a copy, because it's just this amazing double-sided coin of two different lives, and it was kind of like that. It's been nice hanging out on it because we didn't meet at all on the. There's really two worlds, and there's the Hartsfield world and the Hodges world, and they're both so detailed and layered and wonderful and murky and.
Just speaking up. Speaking up as the one who had the pleasure of directing this guy in that role, his spontaneity and not only the depth of the dark alleys he would go down, and the twisted humor, and like there's this little scene where he walks into a diner and he sees this guy who he knows because he's the ice cream man, and we know who he is, but he doesn't. And he just looks at him and goes, and when he's seen by him, he goes, "Hey man, how are you?" And it was such a pathetically brilliant choice Harry made to just try to be an ordinary guy. And you know, that's one of the things that's terrifying about the world we live in, is that you constantly hear, well, he was such a quiet neighbor. He was such a nice man. Who knew he had all those bodies in the basement? And Harry, you know, there's this one great thing I said to him at one point: I want to see you dancing in your basement, which is private.
I gave it to you, didn't I?
You can rock it a little bit if you want, but we don't have Radiohead playing like we do in the show. But I said, somewhere I see you just cutting loose and dancing, and maybe you're in your underwear, maybe you're naked, maybe you're dressed. Harry said, all of it sounds great.
I said, probably dressed.
Yeah, so...
I'm really going to lose it.
So he came in one day when we had this ordinary scene to do, which was just him looking up the stuff on his computer and comparing it to some gadgetry he needed to use as part of his plot. And he said, I was thinking, what if I'm dancing in this thing? And I said, great. And he brought in this Radiohead tune, which is in our show, and he does this. It begins this episode with this extraordinary
Don't build it up. Don't build it up too much, Jack. Don't build it up. It's just a little shimmy. It's a little shimmy. Nothing much goes on.
It's pretty great. What's great about it is that you've just not seen a character do that and open a show. That's what's so great about it. He's no Fred Astaire. But how many here know Fred Astaire? All right. Michael Jackson.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
And am I speaking too loud to the mic? Or is that good? It's okay.
It's not right on.
Thank you, Holland. Professional, I like it. You're right. That's what I think the novel taps into so amazingly, is that the fear of the next door neighbour. You know, the sort of cul-de-sac horror, the suburban nightmare. That sort of, we're used to like seeing lots of horror with monsters and like that. But it's that thing for me which is the most terrifying is the psychopath that you live next door to and you would never know. And that has a wonderful just sort of reality to the novel and hopefully to this piece. a twisted sort of warped reality, but it feels grounded in the truth.
And this, talking about the filming, the production, I always, when watching it, it feels like Holland's house. Ida's house is like this lovely, well-kept, manicured. You know, she even talks about her yard and her property values. And then it's right next door to what I feel like Hodges is like this money pit that's just like windows are broken and it's just not tended. And they're actual houses. Where did you guys film this?
Well, we were in Charleston, and production-wise, we're trying to decide if we wanted to have Hodges' house and Brady's house on a soundstage. Usually in a movie or a TV show, especially a TV show, where you go back and forth to it many times, you will shoot the exterior on location, and then you'll go back to the stage and do the interiors. And we looked at the pros and cons of all that, and we actually found a house that was right next door to a perfect Ida house that was a Hodges house, and we also found a Brady house, which is, you know, poor Dad, and maybe at one point it was a nice place to live, but it isn't anymore. Talk about broken windows. And so we actually took over this house that this family was in that was a shambles. And we rented it from them for 6 months and brought in contractors, totally redid the house, and gave it back to these people. I mean, it was great. And so we actually were able to, with cameras, go in and out of the house, and it felt like a real place, like Holland was saying. So some of it was a set, of course, and some of it was actual places. The Supreme Electronics store we found an abandoned in a strip mall, an abandoned off big space, you know, like somewhere between a Radio Shack and a Best Buy, not that big, but, and we took it over. Merrick Dabrowski, our genius production designer, and his team got all this stuff, put it in, and people came and applied for jobs there. And people would walk in when they were finishing the set and just go around and like pick up cables and go, and then, well, where's the cashier? And they'd want to buy stuff. And we said, we're a movie set. It's not real. And nobody could believe it. And
another thing
it was in an actual mall. Yeah.
Another thing to that point, having the Ida house and the Bill House actual houses close together, and given that she wants to be someone for him and he's pushing her away, that we actually were in those houses, and after a scene where he rebuffs her, she's upstairs at night getting ready to turn out her light, and we're actually in houses like that, and I'm looking out the window, and he's looking up and seeing me silhouetted in an actual house. It had such a sense of reality that I think all of us as actors were probably, our game was heightened by how much we were fed by this kind of thing. So when the producers and the artistic directors make decisions like that, it's really critical and important to a project. And you as an audience, believe me, will benefit by this tapestry, this texture of reality that these guys have created.
That's exactly what I was thinking, that texture of these characters in this world you guys are living in. And speaking of living, Jharrel, we talked about this backstage. So this guy, he's the good kid. He's the good kid in the neighborhood. He's smart. He's willing to help this really unlikable old man who's like, boy, I mean, he's clearly an alcoholic. And I worry because typically this character has a target on his back. Like, the good kid never makes it through. Were you worried, like, I'm going to make it out of episode 7?
Nah. Jerome is a superhero in his own ways. His mind is like, I don't know, it's interesting. He sees the good in everybody. You know, he sees the good in everybody, which can be dangerous sometimes, but he feels that sort of protection from Hodges. He's like the baby bear, you know, and Hodges is the big bear, the big bear. And he's just, you know, when he starts to help Hodges in the beginning, he definitely has no idea what he's doing. You know, it's like that. Yeah, I'm just gonna help him. I'm doing this for him. Then as he goes further into the season, he starts to realize that he is in dangerous territory, but he's the kind of guy who will never back down. You know, and it's impossible for him not to make it because he won't back down.
All right, okay. And if you look, Jharrel's IMDb page stretches all the way back to 2016. Yet, he is racking up some serious roles here. What was it like sharing so much screen time with Brendan Gleeson?
What was it like doing anything that happened in this past year? It's been wild. But yeah, working with Brendan was equivalent to going to class every day. I knew that when I was leaving school, I was nervous to just jump into this TV set with Jack Bender, with Kelley, Lynch, everybody here. You can't really process it when you're used to just taking tests and worrying about your next class, But working on that set was such a breeze for me because Brendan was a mentor and Jack was a mentor, and pretty much almost every scene I did throughout the season was just with Brendan. A bit with the Holly character that you'll meet later, but it was a lot with Bill, so it was almost like I didn't get a chance to work with everyone else, but Brendan had Brendan had Brendan had the scenes where I was angry, Brendan had the scenes where I was excited, Brendan had, it was such a range that I got to play just with working with one actor, and that was what taught me the most, that I can be one-on-one with somebody and still get to learn as much as he's learning at the same time, and he's a legend. So, yeah.
Nice. And Breeda, again, transformative role, because if you guys don't realize, she was in Unreal Season 1 as Faith, the faux reality show contestant. And then I'm watching it, I'm 2 episodes in, I'm like, oh my god, this is, first of all, it's such a cool character. Probably the worst store employee, other than maybe Brady. I do feel like, much like Ida and Jerome, Bill needs these characters. He needs this presence in his life. I feel like Brady definitely needs Lou in his life. Do you feel that this woman, because she considers him her best friend, does she think he's even capable of the things he is capable of?
I think that, I'm gonna take a long pause. I think that it's interesting when Brady goes under the radar. And in this story, in Mr. Mercedes, there's a lot of people, like you said, who have targets on their back. And I walk around in this world that we've made. I'm a gender fluid woman, I'm gay, I have tattoos on my neck, visible tattoos. I basically said to the world, like, this is how I'm gonna be, this is how I'm gonna behave, and I stand in it. And at that same moment, I am very vulnerable to not having enough money, trying to keep my job, having this dynamic. So it's like I feel responsible for standing up for Brady because he's, seems like he's gonna get employee of the month all the time. People come in and even, we do all the work in this business, and yet like our boss in corporate comes down all the time and diminishes us, but they take one look at me and they say I'm a monster, and the actual monster goes unseen. But I think in terms of my relationship with Brady, like, I see someone fragile, and I see someone who's been abused, and in the story, Lou sees a kinship in someone who's been rejected and dejected, and whose society says you're not good enough, you're not powerful enough, you're not in the it crowd, you don't have money, you're not wearing the right suit, you're not, you don't have the cheerleader on your arm. And Brady and I kind of live in that place where the world says, we don't like you, we don't want you. And I'm a little bit more vocal about that than Brady is, but I think part of that is because Brady is committing heinous crimes behind everybody's back.
Actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. When you're not committing like horrible crimes, you just kind of mouth off to your boss. That's kind of the extent of it. And I feel like, there's definitely, I want to look out for him, and I want to, but ultimately, I think it comes down to I didn't make those choices. But, I get gay bashed, I'm talked down to by people, I'm looked down upon because of my sexuality, and I don't choose to go out and hurt people. but there's a side of me that kind of wants to. And that side of me is enacted in this friend of mine. And whether I know that or not is unclear. And you spend time with people in your life and you don't really know what they're, did I find him because he does play out these violent acts that I can't do? I don't know. You guys decide that when you watch the show.
All right. Okay, we're going to take a bunch of quick questions from the crowd if you guys want to. Line up the mic. We've got about 5 minutes to do some questions. And we will have a clip.
Yeah, short.
We'll show that right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys, we'll send you out with the bag.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Kyle. I'm from LA. I just want to say, like Audience TV, like our Audience Network, how was it, I guess this question's for Jack, how much freedom do you have with a new network rather than having like stipulations of like set things how they're supposed to be?
Well, I had a lot of freedom. So if you guys don't like it, it's on me. And I think that that's probably the way this company is going to continue. And I think that most great networks or platforms are, with the amount of wonderful stories and storytellers there are out there, I think that, they probably, hopefully, trust the storytellers. Certainly on cable, you're free to do things. This show wouldn't be on CBS, right? And it's just not possible. So it had to be cable. And we're very fortunate to be with Audience Network, and we got freedom, and also I got great feedback and really smart suggestions and notes, which is, as a filmmaker, all you can hope for. The flexibility and intelligence.
And by the way, shout out to Kyle, who's a friend of mine.
What's
Thank
up,
you for
Kelley?
being the voice there.
And then real fast, why is this room so small? I feel like this should be like a bigger room, right?
But next year, big room.
Don't go to Hall H then, because it smells in there. Let's go like ballroom 20 twice.
Some serious Sunday funk in there.
Hi, my name's Rachel. Harry, I do not know you were English.
Hello.
Hello. Hello, Governor. Yeah, I guess it's wonderful. Your accent is amazing. I had no clue until you actually started speaking.
Oh, cool. Good.
Did you have a dialect coach or?
No, I didn't, but I have in the past for other stuff, but I just sort of hashed this one together for it. But to be honest, I tell a little porky. I did ask Kelley to speak, so she is
I have
officially
the
my
most
dialect.
flat Midwestern accent of anyone.
I got Kelley to read out some of Obama's inauguration speech, and I just copied that a lot for a while. Which is not the way you thought. I was just getting my...
That wasn't actually my question. My question is wonderful, but I was going to ask as well if any of you had actually read the book before you read the screenplay, and how you kind of, did you? How you incorporated it, if you did?
Well, just one thing from my point of view, Harry would walk on the set just about every day with more notes than, I don't know what to compare it to. The book was his Bible. And you come in with, they say this and this little, and what about, they call it the Big Witch with migraines, and wouldn't that be cool? And I go, yeah, you're absolutely right. So suddenly it was the Big Witch. So Harry referred to the book a lot.
Okay, cool.
Specifically.
Thank you so much. Appreciate
It's
it.
so wonderful, and I think it's an absolute luxury if you get to do something which is based on a good book,
Yeah.
because there's so many details. You can get the scene and literally go back to where the writers were pulling that from. Obviously, they've taken out some bits from it, and you can just, sneak a tiny bit of detail back in, even if it's in your head. It's some, layers it up. It's cool.
Thank you very much.
Come in the bag. We've got time for one more, so let's make it
One
go.
more, we have-
I thought we had another 10 minutes.
All right,
Okay,
quick.
sorry, I'll try to make it good.
Yeah.
So, just want to say thank you guys for coming down and doing this.
Thank you.
We're super excited for the series. For Mr. Jerome, playing Jerome. He's a favorite of mine in the series and the book. Playing such a strong, intelligent, young adult, black male. That's important to Mr. Hodges, and Mr. Hodges is important to Jerome as well. And you kind of touched a little bit on another character, Holly, in the book, but does Jerome's sister, who's also very important to Mr. Hodges, kind of in the End of Watch trilogy, do we find her in the series? Is she going to play any role in this series or maybe beyond?
Yeah, she is actually. She does show up a few times throughout the episodes, and you can see our relationship build throughout a bit. And yeah.
Okay, we're excited for it.
Oh, yeah.
I've been told to wrap, so I guess, but
We have 10 minutes.
we still have 10 minutes, right?
Next question.
Keep going, go on.
Hi, my name is Erin. So one of the things I found really interesting about this novel is a lot of the things that happen within it without giving anything away have been happening in real life and real tragedies. And I was wondering what it was like creating a show that is seeing these things happening in real life and playing out in really tragic ways.
It's daunting and upsetting. Stephen King, when he was coming down under the dome one year, read about some obscure story that didn't make the national news about a job fair where people were mowed down by someone driving a car. That seems tragically it doesn't seem, it's become the modus operandi of maniacs and terrorists around the world now. And so, aside from the tragedy of those events happening, the fact that we depict it in a way that I think is realistic without being sensationalizing or glorifying or slow motion. I wanted no music. I mean, it's one of the reasons the show has a lot of songs that are either motivated by Hodges or Brady, and there are two things, and their taste, and they put on music or listen, and it's all source and practical and no score, because I wanted the show to have that kind of reality, and it's starting with the initial tragic event that's depicted at the beginning, and it's horrible to see, but mostly on the news we see it from a distance, and I wanted the audience to see it up close without glorifying anything. So it's daunting.
Thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to the show.
Yeah, good, thank you.
G'day. It's my first question, so forgive me if I'm not doing it right.
Go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Thank you. You touched briefly on it when mentioning that you had the manuscript mailed to you by Mr. King and that Harry was bringing in notes from the book, but I wanted to ask, how was the process of developing from the book into the screenplay, and how did that evolve, and what sort of process that was?
Well, the second wonderful decision I made after wanting to do it was getting David Kelley, who's a genius in his own right, to run the writers and adapt it. Because David Kelley, we all know from various shows like Ally McBeal and The Practice, can get very twisted and dark, frequently in a comedic vein like Ally McBeal. But I knew that if David would go down this alley with these characters, which first and foremost had to be up front, it would be a great mix. And so David adapted it. And then our writers continued to work and give life to it.
Wonderful. Cheers, guys. Tom.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My question is for Harry. I love your Incredible. And so, like your two big most recent projects, this and that, both sort of dark and genre. Do you find yourself, is that something you're drawn to? And if so, why, or is it just sort of?
No, it's just what's sort of come my way, really, to be honest. It's, I think a lot of actors are the same. It's what comes your way, what you're lucky enough to get. And there's less design in anyone's careers, I think, than they might have you believe. So why have these dark things come to me? I don't know. It's just the ones I get because I'm dark. I don't know. I'm not.
You do it really well.
Thank you.
They're coming for me, so Harry, make it fast.
If you could change, switch places with any of the characters, which one would you for a day? Just any character for one day, which would you switch places with? Even if
who did messed up things in that one day? Just one day.
I'd be you.
I'll be you.
I'd like to be him because I'd like to be so good.
Can I pick Odell?
I was My dad is Jerome's dog.
Yeah.
No, I think I'd be Mr. Mercy.
So the two psychopaths in the room aren't up here.
That's a very interesting question.
Wait, Kelley, who did you say?
Well, I think that Holland and I could trade places. It would be hilarious. Our characters would be really good. The taste of each other's lifestyles would be helpful. Just putting that out there. It'll make more
I'll
sense.
consider this over a drink later.
Yeah.
All right, coming to back. Last question.
You made it.
So when you're playing dark character or dealing with dark themes on shows, was there any time where you couldn't just walk away from it, and maybe what did you do to decompress from those types of days of filming?
Okay, so drink. What did you say? No. I ended up watching the least empathetic TV shows I could find because I felt like I couldn't watch, Babe, because I would just have it sort of vibe in the evening. That would be too much. I watched UFC fighting, Fox News, and Shark Tank.
That's actually really smart.
With that, I have to wrap this. I'm so sorry, guys. This was awesome. You guys are
Wait. Very quickly, we have a very short clip. This guy bugged me for a cameo in the show. We gave it to him. It's a very short clip from a longer scene. Take a look and you'll notice somebody at the end of this scene. Here we go. And bring the lights in, if you will.